It's good to be here. Appreciate those here and those online, allowing all the unfoldment and the connection to the whole world that's going through different things right now. In Europe today there's a big, all over Europe, there are large demonstrations planned in most of the cities, I think about 40 or 50 cities today. So it's already probably in process, and a lot of it is to do with the austerity programs and things, just with the injustice of society, the injustice of life over there, the injustice of all the things that don't allow for easy living of life. Mankind has been in process for thousands of years of not allowing a proper balance of life, balance between the substance of the earth, and balance between people. And everything is seeking to rebalance itself, come into a new pattern of harmony. We're of course charged with being in place of balance ourselves as individuals, because the place of balance for the world starts with the individual. Being at balance, being centered, being in the place where divine cause can meet human action. There is things and there are things to be done. And those things have to be done in a place where they're most effective, in union with life, in union with the creative spirit. When they're destructive patterns on their own, then they just turn out destructive. The world, in a sense, would be most likely trying to create a destructive pattern out of the demonstrations this day, in which case the police and all the police state type of things would come out. And that's the typical government response around the world. So in a way they both feed on each other. But sometimes things don't happen to change the larger pattern of the world without some sort of revolution or re-evolution. And a lot of people think of that as being the way that things change, because typically that's been the process. But there's another process. That process is to allow more divine cause here, to allow divine cause to move through mankind. And this is easier said than done, because if it was easy, the churches and the temples and the religions of the world would have already done it. But we can see that divine cause doesn't come into the world easily through those structures. It's the structures in themselves turn out to be part of the problem. So divine cause has to come through without structure, without an organization in that way. It has to come through individuals who allow divine cause to work through in their lives individually. And then it spreads into a larger pattern. If we think of trying to have a revolution on earth to change things, well, the other side would balance it out. The police state would balance it out and try to use force to stop that. They'd be charged with that. And of course there'd be arrests and all the demonstrations and perhaps bloodshed and things. And certainly these are things that are in some way indicative of what's going on. But that's not fully how divine cause works on earth. It works through a vibrational realm. It works through allowing a new vibration to come in. This is why it's important to have those who can allow the new vibration to move through their own forms. Reorganizing the cells, reorganizing the mind, reorganizing the feelings. We're given a certain job to do, and that job is to let our forms, our mind, our heart, transmute into something that's more workable for divine action here on earth. And then that field of action goes out into the world. And the world doesn't necessarily have to go through a big revolutionary cataclysmic event with the police state, etc. But those are things that indicate that divine causes is increasing. As we see these things, they're just evidence of the fact that when the revolutions are starting and when they're happening, that there's a change coming on earth. When the police states are there and coming to the forefront, there's a change coming on earth. Because the police states are there to try to control people from moving into a higher realm, a different place of function. We're charged with being aware of those things, but not necessarily as the main place where we can put our conscious energy into doing that ourselves. We hold that in resolution in our form. We hold an awareness of the things that need to change for the betterment of society, for the betterment of people, for the betterment of life on earth. But the most effective thing we can do as a group, as a collective, and individually speaking, is to allow God to be here, is to allow the Creator to work through, to allow the God being that is indwelling in each one to come forth more. Then there are God beings in action on earth. There's your God being, the truth of who you are. When the truth of enough God beings are in action on earth, then something else can happen. A change, but relatively peaceful transmutation of consciousness. Above the surface of consciousness and all the trouble is what we see around of a seeming society. But below the surface is the subconscious nature of mankind, individually, ancestral-wise, family-wise, and on the world pattern. The subconscious has had a lot of turmoil in it. There's nothing we can do in the physical dimension until we gain, as individuals, some ground on the subconscious dimension. This is where the feelings come up, the first flush of feelings. When something happens, if we master the thing that happens so our feelings don't go out of control, then there's an opportunity for the subconscious in our own forms, because the subconscious works through all our physical forms. Then that control over the subconscious allows for a clear movement of divine substance, divine consciousness, through from the subconscious into the conscious mind, into the conscious heart, and into the world. It can then go into the larger subconscious. But the subconscious is the critical thing that has to be changed, that has to be addressed. In the Bible it speaks of those who stand on the sea of glass, mingled with fire. But people don't understand what that is. For the most part they think of it, well, it's a sea of glass mingled with fire. 2,000 years or 3,000 years, whatever, however long they've been speaking of a sea of glass mingled in fire, there's not very much understanding that the sea is the sea of the subconscious, and the mingling in fire is mingled with the Shekinah, the fire of God's action, the fire of God's love. This has to transmute and occur. If it was easy to do, all the chairs in here would be filled. We'd have a lot more people connecting online. But remember, what this brings up is the subconscious stuff that goes on in the individual. It goes on in you. It goes on in others. When they come along, the first thing that starts to be felt is something coming up for them. People don't know what that something is, but it feels uncomfortable because there's something coming from the subconscious. And because it's coming through the subconscious, and it hasn't been a sea of glass, it's been a sea of turmoil with all sorts of things in the subconscious. Fear and shame and guilt and envy and resentments and all sorts of subconscious patterns. That's the first thing that comes up. When the point of consciousness starts to push up from the subconscious, there's an initial feeling that somehow what's coming up is bad or is uncomfortable, because that uncomfortable sensation within the subconscious can do things within, can do things in the heart. It can bring up thoughts, it can bring up feelings, and it's uncomfortable. Great, because without that uncomfortable nature of the subconscious coming up, there is no opportunity for the individual to gain mastery over the subconscious, to stand on the sea of glass mingled in fire. The fire is coming. It's coming up from below the consciousness. It's coming from the subconsciousness. So you don't have to do anything about the fire. The fire is already coming. Fire is coming into the whole collective subconscious of mankind. Individually, you're only meant, each one is meant to gain mastery over those things that come up in the subconscious. When you feel the uncomfortable nature of the subconscious things that come up, that's the time to hold steady, because that'll clear something in you. The subconscious in your body and mind and heart is all-inclusive part of the sea of glass. A sea of glass implies that it's still, it's glass, it's clear as crystal. So it's steady, it's nothing ripples, there are no distorted patterns in a sea of glass. So if you still feel the sea of glass with some distorted patterns, great. If you're feeling the heat, if you're feeling subconscious stuff come up in you, good for you. This is the best thing that you can possibly experience, because at some point that you'll have the mastery to be able to stand in the subconscious realm on the sea of glass of your own subconscious and let the fire come through. Let the mingling of the fire of the Creator come through you. Then you're of some value to the creative field, to the Creator. It's wonderful that each of you here, those of you that listen to this and are conscious of what needs to happen, are at least participating. That's 9/10 of what needs to happen. The fact that you bring yourself to this place of awareness. But there's nothing to join. There's no organization, there's no religion, there's nothing to give your money to, there's nothing political happening here. This isn't about any of that stuff. This is only about letting your subconscious mind, your subconscious heart, the feeling realm, to come under divine control. Not my divine control, your divine control. So that you become the means whereby your God being, the divine you, comes forth. Then there's some action on earth, God in action on earth through you, through the human side of you. This is the only job that we have next. The individual transmutation of the subconscious realm. Standing in all the moments, because it's not the big things we have to attend to. We've discussed this before. We're given a kingdom of little things. It's the very small things, the finer and finer things that you feel. The first flush of the finest feelings, or the not so comfortable feelings. Typically, those who stand on the sea of glass, well, the fire is coming from below, so it's going to come through the sea of glass into the world. So as a person standing on the sea of glass, you're going to bring up for things for other people, the same way as I bring up things for other people. We each bring up things for other people because we stand in the holy place of the sea of glass mingled in fire. Fire comes out, other people feel uncomfortable. It's no doubt about it. It's not meant, we're not doing a comfortable type of thing here. We're not trying to make everybody feel comfortable, because people, the first thing they're going to get with being around you, with being around me, is they're going to feel uncomfortable. They won't know why. There'll be a simultaneous pulling and pushing. Part of them will be responsive and want to participate, because some parts of their form, some parts of their mind, some parts of their heart will feel, oh, we want to participate with you. There's something that we're getting from this somehow. Subconsciously though, everything's going to come up from the subconscious that says, no, this is bringing stuff up inside. So we have this inner battle that goes on with individuals. This is better than an exterior battle out there in the world with police and demonstrators and wars and all that. Because until the inner battle gets done and completed in individuals, the outer battles are going to go on. The outer battles are just a reflection of the inner state of consciousness. The subconscious is full of this inner battle, full of the unresolved issues in consciousness. If we look at psychologists, they've been looking at this in all the therapy sessions and things, at the subconscious realm. But they look at it and there's no resolution to it. You cannot resolve things by just looking at them. You have to resolve them in the instant that they're coming up. This is vital. In the instant that you feel it, in the instant that you sense it, hone your skill, hone your mind, hone your heart, hone your capacity of vibration to sense and discern the instant that something comes up for you. Yeah? Because as soon as it's coming up, whatever that sensation, it could be mental thoughts, could be uncomfortable feelings, as soon as they come up, they start out by feeling small. And then they start to come to the surface more. They get pushed up. The sea is heating up. The subconscious starts to heat up underneath those things, and they'll get pushed to the surface of consciousness. At first it starts out like a little thing. Maybe a feeling, oh, I don't like that, or it feels out of sorts somehow. But then as it starts to come closer and closer to the surface of consciousness, it starts to rise through the subconscious, and pretty soon the conscious grabs a hold of it, and it voices some disgruntled state of conscious mind without understanding what it's doing. Because the conscious mind is, for all intents and purposes, it's insane. It has no comprehension of sanity. Conscious mind in everybody, not just some, in everybody, is insane. The only place where we can deal with the insanity is to bring some sanity into the subconscious. The Bible again speaks, the book of Revelation speaks of those who stand on the sea of glass mingled in fire. In the world, this needs to happen for anything to occur in the larger pattern. That's of something more use than revolution, more use than armed conflict, more use than trying to overthrow the government or the police state or anything like that. It's vitally important, and it's what's happening. The very fact that each of you are either participating, have been participating for years, or brand new in the participation with us on this, whether through the video or the recordings, indicate that there's something in you that wants to transcend the living from the conscious only. You want to not only understand your subconscious, but clear your subconscious. Clear it, because nobody else can clear it for you. That's the unfortunate part. If someone could clear your subconscious for you, then you could pay your money and they'd clear your subconscious and it would be done. But people can guide you, people can assist you to clear that subconscious, but you have to take the responsibility to do it. And it's the larger pattern. The more you are responsible in the realm of the subconscious, the deeper you can go. If you think of it in terms of the subconscious, it's reasonably deep. It's kind of, to give an analogy, it's like the water, it's like the ocean, it's deep. most people, including in submarines and all, they can only go a mile or two or whatever, how deep, but not very deep into the ocean, because their crafts get crushed. Same with going into the subconscious. You will never be able to go into the depth of the subconscious until you master the surface levels of the subconscious. But as you master the subconscious, and you can go deeper in your own, first you'll find the territories like this. You have your own personal subconscious, things that happen to you in your life. Then you have, at deeper levels, you have things that happen to your family, in generations of your family, forefathers, your grandparents, your grandmothers and fathers, and their grandparents. Then you go deeper and you get into racial patterns and patterns for nations and things. And you go deeper and you get into the whole world subconscious, things that happen to the whole world. These are some of the deepest subconscious patterns that have to be dealt with. My job is to go deeper. Your job is to go deeper too. Where are we going? Well, it's straight out. There's no mystery in this. We're going deeper. All the preparation that we do is to go deeper, deeper and deeper, to meet what? Meet the consciousness of the Creator. Because the consciousness of the Creator is coming from the depth. From the depth of below all the distorted patterns. From the depth of the subconscious where things are clear again. This is the only way of meeting and allowing the Creator to be here. Through the subconscious. Through the feelings that come up. If you want to meet the Creator, you're going to have to go to the depth of the subconscious. Deeper and deeper. Gain more and more mastery. So it's not like a job where you go to a little bit of depth and now you've learned how to, maybe like driving. You learn how to drive on a 2-lane street in one direction or another. And you're happy with driving on a 2-lane street of the subconscious. And then there's a little bit more depth. Now you get 2 lanes in either direction. And then there's more depth. And there's 4 lanes in either direction and 16 lanes. And the deeper you go, the more access of information you have. The more can come through you into an awareness that you never knew you could access. Stuff that you cannot learn. Stuff, if I had to learn what I know, it would be pointless. It would take me forever. And I would never learn what I know, what I can access. It's not because I've learned anything. It's because the deeper one goes, the more I can access. The deeper I go, the more I can access. Access of what? Well, access of the Spirit of God, the Spirit of the Creator coming through. All the information for all of eternity is all there. Eternity is like that. It's not a timeline from point A to point B. Whether we say that's 1,000 years. All the information for 1,000 years, what could that be? Well, it's all there. It's all in this depth of the subconscious. In the depth, the deeper in the subconscious you go, the more information there is about what occurred in the subconscious over the last 5,000 years. It's there. The feelings, not just one bit of feeling, but the collective feeling of the whole collective of humanity. You go deeper, and it's 10,000 years of collective consciousness in there. You go 20,000 years, you go deeper in this 20,000 years of collective consciousness in the subconscious. You go deeper in this 25, 30,000. Now there comes a moment in time when you go far back enough when you can access before the so-called fallen state. Before all the loss of awareness of being one in the collective consciousness. Because that's only been in the last 25,000 years. And then you can access the collective consciousness for 100,000 years before that. From the beginning of mankind stepping on this planet, what all that was like. The height of civilization, a civilization that lived in peace. We think of our civilization as being 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And we look back on the last 3,000 to 5,000 years and we think, oh, this is quite a bit of civilization. But really it's not. It's absolutely the most insane civilizations of the last 3,000 to 5,000 years. Wars and famines and all the evidences of the world being out of balance because of the insane nature of mankind's consciousness over the last 3,000 to 5,000 years. But when you go back 25,000 to 125,000 years, you can access a civilization that was around for 100,000 years in peace. It's there. It's deep. 100,000 years of peace. The technology, the awareness. It wasn't a small civilization. It was a large civilization. It was a civilization where mankind and God were one. It wasn't any state of separation. You and your God being you weren't separate. You were one. It's there. You go back before that and you can access 200,000-300,000 years ago, as all the earth was being formed, as all the creatures were being made, as the very creation of everything was being set in place. And you go back before that and you can, the deeper you go, the more you can access. You can access before there was even this planet, the nebula, the consciousness of being in a nebula. Just plain pure God consciousness, plain pure creator consciousness. It's there. 300,000 years ago when this was a nebula. You go back before that and you can access again deeper. You can access into the depth of space and into the center of the galaxy. See, the journey isn't one of trying to have space flight to go to another planet or another star system. Well, maybe in time that'll be useful. But the journey now is to go into the depth of awareness of original cause. The deeper you go, the more you can access what was there before all of this. You come to the place of the realization of the sunbeams and the king of the sun and the lords and lady of the sun and the planets, and each of the planets, how they are created, and how all our solar system, this particular solar system we're in, with all the star systems and stars that they interact with, and the consciousness of the different beings that live on the stars. You go deeper and you can, this is all in the depth of peace. This is where all that interaction's happening, in the depth of peace. You can access deeper into the Pleiades and the star systems in Orion. You go deeper right to the depth of the subconscious, and you'll find an interaction right at the core of the Milky Way galaxy. God of this Milky Way galaxy. Creator, as the Milky Way galaxy is the cell in, one cell in the body of God. You go deeper and you see all the galaxies as all part of the Creator. All little points of light, tiny little points of light. Tiny, tiny little points of light. Each galaxy is a tiny, we're sitting over here thinking this world is so large and what goes on Earth is so large and so important and so vital. We're thinking over here what goes on in our day-to-day lives is so vital and important. All the things we go through, but really, in a sense, it's so surfacey. It's so minuscule in comparison to the depth of consciousness of God, very God itself, where galaxies and galaxies by the billions make up God. Not just a few galaxies, but billions upon billions of galaxies. They're all God. They're all the Creator. They're all light. It's all light. God itself, the Creator itself, is light. We can comprehend these things and discuss these things with our mind and heart and speak about these things. But beyond even discussing, it is coming into a full awareness of the truth of what this means for you, what this means for our civilization, what this means for the changes here on earth. You think if God exists, which is made up of billions upon billions of galaxies, we know how big the galaxy is. You think that God has power over here? Of course. Throughout all the galaxies, throughout all of time, before time even existed, it's all part of the Creator. It's all part of the Holy Spirit that moves through everything. And then there's the galaxy of you. You are a galaxy by yourself. You are a God being by itself, given life, given consciousness by the Supreme One, the Lord of all, the Creator of all. For you to do something, establish dominion in your own body and mind and heart while you're alive. And do something about those subconscious tendencies and the subconscious fears and the subconscious thoughts and all the vagrant ideas that come from a state of separation. Bring it all back to an awareness of one thing, standing on the sea of glass mingled in fire. Because the fire is the galaxies and galaxies and galaxies of fire of God. Galaxies and galaxies and galaxies. Coming through, funnily enough, your subconscious. Luckily, it's not coming through at that force. The galaxies of the cells of the Creator as revealed in a galaxy, that force isn't coming through you. Not coming through me. It's differentiated. It's brought smaller and smaller. So there's, out of the whole galaxy, there's a few volts coming through you, coming through me. A few tiny volts of energy, of life force, for 80 and 10 and 100, 120 years, whatever. Yeah, there's a little bit of life force, but the Creator has so much life force that the Creator can give galaxies and by the billions life. It's a lot of life force. Wow. Wow. And the Creator gives you and me life force. The whole of all galaxies, the whole of every part of creation sings of the grandeur of God. Can you feel it? Wow. Phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. How have people missed this? I don't understand how people miss it. I don't understand how people believe in God, but miss going to the depth of the awareness. Wow. And for those who are drawn out of the world pattern, yeah, be aware of the world pattern, be aware of all the things that are going on, but come into an awareness of the truth. God is, the Creator is, wow, just the most phenomenal thing that's going on in all of creation. Simultaneously through all of eternity, there's not one moment from the beginning of the creation of eternity to the end of all eternities that the Creator's done. And those little feelings come up, little tendencies in mind and heart. People don't want to gain control of those tendencies, because it's easier to be in the tendencies of fear and shame and guilt than to go deeper, to want to meet the Creator. The joy in the heart has to be the thing that you want more than anything else. Has to be only one thing. I want, as Francis Warren said, I want one thing. As the promise was given, even, however the words came through, whatever, of saying, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And God is made up, the Creator is made up of galaxies. Wow. Just the most amazing thing. And those galaxies are just as much part of your cells, part of your makeup, part of everybody. All 6.9 billion people here on Earth. Look at your body. You look at the cell, one cell. Pick any cell in your body. Doesn't matter which cell it is. Pick any cell, look at it under a microscope at the most powerful magnification, and what do they see? It's all light. It's all light. It's all the Creator, from the biggest thing to the tiniest thing. The whole range, from the macrocosm to the microcosm, it's all the Creator. You and I, we have the privilege of being able to comprehend these ideas as a beginning. These ideas are just brought as a thing to remind you of the depth and breadth and scope of the Creator. Just to give a slight little bit of a hint. That's all I can do, is give you a slight, tiny little bit of visual idea, of a hint of the magnificence of the Creator. And how the Creator can work through you. The means whereby that can occur through you. The job that we're given, the opportunity to allow God to have a home here in our physical forms. We'll build a temple at some point for this, to honor the grandeur of the Creator. We will build it. We won't call it anything. We don't need to name it. We don't need to title it. We're going to build a temple of light for honoring the light. But let's start by building these forms into temples of light. Our bodies, our minds and hearts. Let's never forget for an instant, when those instants come up when you feel so small. Yeah? Does anyone ever get to that point? Oh, I feel so small, or I feel so alone, or I feel so... whatever. Just is the most pointless thing, feeling small or separate or alone. What does alone mean? It's just a ridiculous idea. You couldn't be alone if you tried. There's nothing that could be alone if it tried. See, alone is just a word, but it's a mixed up word. The truth of the word alone is it's all one. It's all one. Everything that is, that ever was, that ever will be, is all one. It's all the Creator. As a result, God is with you, without a shadow of doubt. You're in the tiniest, smallest place of atom in you. It's all one. That atom is one. You can't take that atom off and throw it away because it's still part of the Creator. How many atoms do you discard? You could discard atoms all you want all day long by the millions and billions. They're all still part of the Creator. As Science and Einstein and all prove energy doesn't change. You can't destroy energy, it just changes form. It's all energy. To even start to comprehend this, that there's a depth of knowing this that you can access if you want. You can access the depth of knowing this completely. But it takes a little bit of fortitude. It takes a little bit of work. Comparatively speaking, it's a little bit. You have to penetrate through the depth of the subconscious. For some people, this is too hard. Oh, it's too hard. I feel uncomfortable. Well, if it was about feeling comfortable, then all these chairs would be filled up like all the churches and all that. Everybody goes there and feels comfortable. They pay their 10% and, you know, they've done their holy deed for the week, and now they can go back and do whatever the heck they want. No. It's an all-day, 24-hour day, 7-day a week, 365 days. It's your lifetime job. If you want to stay in this, if you want to access this, it's a moment by moment by moment for all the moments. There's no moment that you can suddenly say, oh, I think I'm going to duck out and just ignore the moment. God's not here in this moment. The Creator's not here. Can't get away from even the smallest moment in time. If you choose, you can be in this place. You can be in the place of knowing every single moment the oneness with the Creator. Because you can't get away from it. The truth is, you cannot get away from the oneness with the Creator. There is nothing. Look around you. Look through your eyes if you want. Even those eyeballs that you think you're looking through, they're part of the Creator. Even what you're looking out at. Look at anything around you right now. It's all part of the Creator. Okay, look inside your eyeballs, before your eyeballs, and you think, where am I if I don't have eyeballs? Where am I? Well, there's a thought, there's feelings and all. That's all still part of the Creator. It's all still part of the light. It's all still part of the fire. The fire is everything. Fire of the Creator is everything. It's spoken about like that too. A sea of glass mingled in fire. And you're just given the blessed opportunity of standing on the sea of glass. You are so lucky. You and I and others who are drawn to this place. I don't know what you did to deserve it. I don't. But you're here, so you deserve it. You're hearing these, you're reading this. If this ever turns into a transcript, you're hearing it, you're watching the video of it. I don't know what you did to deserve to understand and comprehend and be able to make the choice for yourself. But something you did along the way has compelled you to be aware of this. Once you're aware of this, this awareness can't just suddenly disappear. It's not like suddenly next year or 10 years or 20 years from now you're suddenly going to forget this and think, oh, where's God? Can't. Once you know this, you cannot forget this. But you can go deeper if you want. Into the knowing. Deeper into knowing the truth. The truth isn't something like, oh, the truth of what's going on in the Middle East or what's going on in the States. Those are news. That's news. The truth isn't about Jesus or religions or Christianity or Jews or any of that. That's all just so minuscule. 5,000 years ago, none of that existed. So you go out beyond this planet, none of that exists. Makes no difference. No, we're not talking about the truth of some Messiah or anybody else. We're talking about the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. God is the Creator. That's the truth. But the hardest thing is to stay in the truth, because it means individual personal responsibility day by day, moment by moment. Because remember, the kingdom of little things, if you're given a little thing, you're given a moment. Right? You're given every single moment. Every single moment. Not just a second. A second is part of it. Now they can measure things in nanoseconds. Even in the nanosecond, which is, I don't know how small, but it's smaller than the second. It's a moment. Even in that moment, you cannot forget. I can't forget. Not even for that nanosecond could I forget this. Once I became aware of it. Not even for that moment could, through all eternity, cannot ever forget this. Look around and you'll think, maybe 20 years from now you'll think, where can I look, what moment can I look at it and not see the Creator? So, even in the moment, in all moments, you are blessed, truly, truly blessed. I have interacted for many years with many people, spiritually, religiously, many different gatherings and things, communities and things. And a lot of them miss the point. The point is the moment. Be aware of God in each and every single moment. Be aware of not just God, be aware of the Creator, be aware of the light, by whatever name you want to call the light. But, forget Jesus Christ existed in a story 2,000 years ago on this tiny little speck of dust, no further. Forget it. We're talking about something much, 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 much bigger than all of that. Much, 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 much bigger. Years from now, when even this planet ceases to exist, it'll become a sun 900,000 years from now. And all of the rest is, all of the history of this time will be forgotten, washed into the memory by the Creator, and those who serve the Creator will still be. Just transmuted into pure beings of radiant sunlight to honor the Creator forever and ever and ever. All glory and honor and power and might be unto the one that sits upon the throne forever and ever and ever and ever. There's a sea of glass, and we're fortunate, very, 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 very fortunate. Out of when I consider how fortunate we are with all the trouble that's going on, with all the religions that are going on, that are waiting for maybe someone to show up, save them from their sins or whatever, bizarre ideas. I consider how fortunate we are to begin to comprehend the depth of what it is that we're starting to comprehend. And it'll take an eternity of eternities for you to understand and comprehend and to see all the gifts that the Creator has in store for you and everybody else. The human consciousness will come and go, but the divine part of your consciousness has got an eternal life to go through. You already have eternal life. So does everybody else on the planet. They just don't understand it. So always send a blessing out into the world, a blessing of awareness. A blessing of awareness, because we know, not just have an idea, not just believe. I do not believe in God. Plain and simple. Why? I don't need to believe, I can see. I can see all around me, I can feel all around me the Creator. Much better than believing in it. People think, what do you mean you don't believe in God? Oh, sorry, but I don't believe in God. Don't need to, don't want to, that's just a belief. And someone else's belief will have some other ideas, and someone else will, they'll all have different ideas and different beliefs. We don't have to have any beliefs. We just have to know. Around. So it's good to go deeper into an understanding of really what, on a very basic level, is the core compulsion inside humanity, inside you, inside me, inside every single person on earth. But not too many people have the stamina to stand on the sea of glass, the fortitude to stand on the sea of glass mingled in fire. Because it'll bring things up, feelings, uncomfortable stuff. Because the more you stand on the sea of glass, the deeper you're going to go. So I'm thankful for those who, even though there's seemingly small number, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me one iota whether there's a few or not, or many. Each one that's standing on the sea of glass is worth a billion that aren't. But through your standing on the sea of glass, the life force of the Creator can move through you into the world and change everything. That's why it's so vital. That's why I'm so appreciative for you, each of you. And each of you that listen to this tape or video or transcript in the future. And there is no organization to join. There is no prayer to do. What there is to do is to be in that place where you see in all things the light. Where your heart wants union with that so much that you just stay in that place of purity, and you not only comprehend these words, but you go for it. And that's it. That's all. So we come to the end of our time together, but the beginning of a more conscious time together. Because we're not just, after this time, this hour, we'll still be connected, we'll still be in the world. You'll be somewhere, I'll be somewhere, we'll all be somewhere. And still aware of what the point is. There is a point. That's the point. The point is, it's all the Creator. It's all the light. You'll never forget the point. I hope that you don't forget the point. And one day, when when we're able to honor life by building a temple to honor the light,